Hey, what's going on? Using my story once again, it's me, Samuel. We have another podcast for you this week. We have a returning guest. We're super humbled that she's here again and that she's going to go further into her story. So go ahead and take a moment and introduce yourself.
My name is Marni Alvarez. I work here at Solis Treatment Center. I'm a case manager.
What's up, Marni?
I said I wasn't going to get nervous. I'm going to get nervous.
Hey, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
All good. Hi, everybody. Hello.
So, you know, Marni, you did a video before.
Yes.
And in that video, you shared your story.
Yes.
And in that story, people have found hope and people have found faith that they can make it.
Yes.
Right? And that's the whole point of our platform, is that we want to give people that faith and that hope that they're able to overcome and be able to work through and build a foundation and be sober and maintain sobriety and retain sobriety.
Yes.
So what we're going to do today is we're just going to have a little bit of back and forth. We'll talk about your story. You know, we'll jump in. We'll get a little bit more from the carne asada.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And again, we can reach more people and we can help more people, because that's the goal, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, Marni, in your story, you were talking about your addiction.
Yes.
So let's start when what that looked like for you, your addiction. What did that look like?
My addiction looked like every day. Every day was my addiction. I couldn't wake up without it. I couldn't function without it.
Yeah.
I couldn't put my makeup on without it.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch my grandkids without it, you know, but it was an addiction that lasted a very long time.
So
Yeah.
your drug of choice was?
Meth, weed. My drug of choice was everything, alcohol, everything. It all went together.
Nice.
But like it started with cocaine, of course, you know?
Yeah.
And but it was like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
It was every day. I couldn't function normally without it.
Yeah. So when you're talking about your addiction, it was meth,
Yes.
it was alcohol, it was weed,
Yes.
and you were needing it every day to
Every day,
function.
every day.
Well, that was the belief at that time.
Well, yeah, yes.
So when did that start for you, and what did that look like?
And I think I said this in my first podcast that it started with, like, back, I'm sort of old, I'm 54, but we only had like cross tops, we had like whites, we had things like that, right? So my first time was in high school. I smashed a cross top and I put the book up and I snorted it.
Okay.
And it made me feel so like powerful, you know, like I was like, I could do anything, I could get through, you know, anything.
Yeah.
So that's what started it.
So when you started, was it an automatic, I need this every day, or did it gradually progress to like, now I'm just a full-on addict?
Right. No, I didn't need it every day, but I liked the way it felt.
Yeah.
You know, so just basically started from there, and then bigger things came, you know, like, you know, I got older, I was introduced to more things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't at first like right into it, no.
Yeah, so it's starting in high school.
Right.
Right. At what point did you say, man, I have a problem?
Let's see. Well, definitely not too much after, because I had my kids like 21 sort of, so I was already an addict.
Yeah.
So I think in high school I was a full addict, but not really needing it, so I thought it was more for like fun, you know, things like that. But I became a drug dealer very early in life. Very, very, yeah.
So when you were drug dealing, was that a way to sustain your addiction, or was it to make money?
It was both. It was
both?
Yeah, it was both.
It's okay. So you went from being an addict to drug dealing,
Right.
to becoming a mother.
Yes. A
Right?
very bad mother.
Bringing kids into, we're
Yes.
going to touch on that.
Yes.
Right? So, you know, you had your kids' pregnancy, right? You
Yes.
had your kids in your addiction.
Yes.
And, I mean, I don't think there's such thing as a bad mom.
Right.
I think there's moms who are making bad choices.
Right. No, right.
And so when we talk about kids, because we're kind of in this podcast, we're kind of going to be like all over the place a
Okay,
little
that's
bit.
fine. Okay.
But because we're going to touch on a lot of subjects with your story.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different people in the community. So when you're talking about being a parent in your addiction, what did that look like for you, Marni?
Wow, it was very selfish. A selfish kind of addiction.
Yeah.
Like it was like all about me, all about just what I was doing. There were so many bad decisions I made.
Yeah.
Like there was times like so much tragic things happened.
Yeah.
Because I was so burnt out.
Yeah.
That I couldn't wake up to take my kids to school. I couldn't wake up to feed them. They basically got ready by themselves. You know, like because at the time I said it was drug dealing, but basically like if I didn't have it or whatever, so it was really about my addiction. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to play the good mom role, but like when it came to school, anything my kid had to do with my kids, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Nah.
So you were there, but you weren't there.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
in your addiction, now your kids are going through this and they're basically raising themselves.
Right.
And so you went through all that.
Right.
Right. And then the life choices that you made. Right. I mean, if you want to touch on those subjects, that's up to you.
Right.
But when you're making all these bad decisions and you're seeing all these things happening in your kid's life,
Right.
the power of addiction and your drug of choice and what you were doing in your life overrode all that.
Right. So this is like, I lived a lot of places. I uprooted my kids from so many homes to different apartments. I got kicked out of all the apartments I lived in.
Yeah.
I never like fully had a job. I never worked. I sold drugs the whole time, and chose the wrong men.
Yeah.
All those decisions that I never really put my kids first.
Yeah.
Never really, I always had people at my house partying, stayed up all night, things like that. So all the choices I made were bad ones. Like,
So
even
instability.
yes, oh, very much so.
Right.
Yes.
And when we talk, I've talked to a couple of guests and we talk about the effects on our circle
Right.
while we're in our addiction.
Right.
So like we don't really take a look at those things
Right.
until later on down the line.
Right.
Right. Where we're like, now you're sober and you
Right.
look at, oh man,
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I have to apologize for this.
Yes.
And how can I ask for forgiveness for this?
Right.
And what can I do to make this better?
Right.
And that's, I think, is the beautiful part about recovery, is you have an opportunity.
Right.
And you have a moment in time where you can say, look, I made bad choices. That's a conversation I had with my kids.
Right.
It was like, I made bad choices in my life, but that doesn't define who you are.
Right.
Now I'm here, and I'm able to be a dad, just like you're able to be your mom.
Right.
I see you with your grandkids.
Yeah.
You kind of get a do-over.
Oh yes. Yeah. Your second
Right?
chance.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
like
see it as
you're a great grandmother.
Yes.
I see you
Yeah.
with your kids, your grandkids, they adore you.
Yes.
And you're living your life.
Yes.
So you've made it through all this addiction,
Mm-hmm.
all this trauma, all these things that would break a lot of people.
Right. All right.
And a lot of people didn't make it out of that.
Right.
Right? A lot of people took their own lives, unfortunately,
Yes.
because they didn't reach out for help.
Right.
A lot of people just are still in their addiction because they feel like, I can't make it.
Right.
I'm just too far down the rabbit hole.
Right.
But the good thing about recovery and having a good support system is people pull you out.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Whether it's day by day or step by step.
Right.
Right? So now you're sitting here and you're sharing your story to all of our followers
Mm-hmm.
and the community, which is awesome.
Yes.
Right? And so at what point did you say, I've had enough?
It wasn't really at one point I had enough. It was like a tragic accident
Okay.
that happened. I had a godson, and he was like, I only have all girls, so he was like my son, and he was a good guy. He was took care of his family. So he was driving home from Arizona, and a semi truck hit him. Right, so it was like a random call, just out of the blue. So I went to Arizona to help his wife and my granddaughter, because I call her my granddaughter. I stayed there for 30 days, and while I was there, I didn't do no drugs. And this was 2 years ago. I didn't do no drugs, and I didn't think about it. I just kept going. So after I got back from those 30 days to my house, I said, "Man, if I could do that for 30 days, I could do it forever." Yeah, and I was like, wow. I've never done it for one day ever in my life, ever.
So, unfortunately, and my condolences for your godson.
Right.
But out of a tragedy came hope.
Yes.
And out of tragedy came a second life.
Yes.
And, we had a previous guest that says, you really don't start living until you learn to die.
Right.
When we die to ourselves is when we're like, okay,
right.
I got to live.
Yeah.
Right? So, now that you have sobriety, and you have the understanding of what it was and where you were in those dark places that you don't want to go back to.
Right.
What would you say is your main motivator today?
My motive is to help anybody I can. Especially like a grandma like me, like someone who's older. Like I swore that I was gonna live this life forever, like a drug life. I was gonna die a drug dealer. I was gonna die a drug person, a drug addict. I was gonna die like that, and that was just the life that I lived, and I was happy. But little did I know that was not even happiness, And I just I figured once he passed away, I told myself, like, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
There like has to be.
Yeah.
I never thought about that before. I thought that was like the life, you know. I thought that was like the perfect way to be. I could do whatever I wanted. I could do, but little did I know I had no job. I had, you know, nothing secure about myself.
So it's like, you know, we had, I think it was Jesse a while back.
Right.
And we were talking about, and I think it was Manny too, we were talking about how we have this crooked mindset.
Oh,
of
yeah.
like, man, you could be in the deepest, darkest place, but you're like, I made it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the dream life.
Yes.
And you're like,
right.
what the heck? And for me, it was like prison. I was like, oh, I made it.
Yeah, I made it. Yeah. I'm big time now.
I'm in the big leagues,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
You know? And it
Yes.
was, but that's how bad your mindset is.
Yeah.
And so now being sober, I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
what was I
thinking? Right, exactly, right.
Because it's like, you even go deeper than that. And a lot of people, what happens is people that are our age, right? I'm be 42.
Yeah.
And it's like, they think it's too late.
Right.
Like, my life's already over. Like, I'm not going to, why would I even start now?
Yeah.
I graduated high school 16 years later after I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, you just have to push yourself. And you have to motivate yourself.
Yes.
Because you're your biggest fan.
Oh, yeah.
But you're also your biggest demise.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the double side of the coin, right? Where people can be like, oh, I don't know, I'm older, my life, this is just the way my life is.
Right. Yeah.
What do you have to say about that statement? That's just the way my life is.
Yeah, that's a terrible statement. But you know what? I glamorize that life so much that now I sit back and I'm like, man, I wish if I would have just stuck with what I really thought in life. Like I mean, I'm not a dumb person, you know, like we're not dumb, but I glamorized that life so much that it took over my whole life. So now that I'm sober and I'm clear-minded, I'm like, man, I can only imagine like where I could be, and it's never too late. Never too late.
You know, a saying, I may not be where I want to be.
Yes.
But thank God I'm not where I used to be.
Right.
Because it's like we were given a second life.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't get that.
Right.
And a lot of people aren't able to obtain that.
Right.
So, you know, from a mom's standpoint, a grandmother's standpoint, and now you're sitting here and you're helping people.
Yes.
And your heart is for the people.
Oh, yes.
For the broken, the lost.
Yes.
Who are suffering with addiction, mental health.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like, I know you shared in your story before, but what would you say was one of the darkest moments for you in your addiction?
The darkest moments was when my kids were like maybe in elementary school, right? And literally I could not wake up to get them dressed. Yeah. They would do their own hair. They would do their thing, and then I would just sleep all the time because at the time there's parts of my life when it wasn't always so glamorous, you know. It was really bad, and that was like really dark for me. Like now, especially now that I think about it, like at the time it was, you know, it was okay, it was no problem. But now that I think about it, like not raising my kids the way I wanted was the really darkest thing.
And then you said it before, but I also know this personally.
Right.
You're a girl mom.
Yes. Oh yes.
So it's like. And you have granddaughters.
Yes, all granddaughters. Yes.
Which has to say, for you to be the matriarch of that family.
Right. It's hard.
That's heavy.
Yeah, very.
That's making me get emotional.
Very, yeah.
Because it's like you have to think about, now they're all looking up to you. And regardless of choices that were made, the love of a child is unconditional.
Oh, right.
So for me, my kids were my motivator.
Right.
In the beginning.
Right.
I was like, oh, I got to get right for my kids.
Right.
I was given an ultimatum.
Right.
Either be here, raise your kids, or hit the block. Your choice.
Right.
And I was like, I got to raise these kids.
Right.
But when I was in my addiction, I didn't worry about that.
Right.
How's your relationship with your kids now?
It's very good. For the first time in my life, well, not my life, but my first time. You know what? That's true for my life. I went when I graduated Bible College 5 on Sunday. We all went out to dinner. I had my 3 daughters, all my grandkids, even my grandson, which I never see. I never get to see him because just situations that have been in the past. But everybody was there. Yeah, and I'm gonna bring a picture so I can post it on this so to see.
But do you see how it's like everything that we feel we've lost?
Right.
It may not happen instantaneously.
Right.
Where things are gonna be like, oh, your family's like, hey, welcome back.
Yeah,
bro. Like,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
all
yeah,
good.
yeah.
it's going to happen over time.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because things happen. Choices are made. I mean, we've said it multiple times in this podcast where you make bad choices and people get affected by those choices. Now, can you get over those choices? Yes, but we can't force anybody to get over those things. All we can do is be ready and willing when they're ready. You know? So it's like, that gives me so much joy for you because you're on this path and you have this momentum that is like unstoppable. Yeah. And the energy that you bring is unlike any energy we've ever had.
That's good.
So it's like, you know, I see you interact with people and I see you interact with your kids and your grandkids. And it gives people hope. Oh, Marni. So and that's not something to take lightly. Because it's also not something to put you on a high horse, but it's something that's going to be like, stay humble because people will always look up to you now.
Oh, yes. I hope so.
Because it's like, if she could make it, then why can't I?
Yes. And that's like my number one thing. That's my number one thing that I want to work at every day. If I wake up and say, God, give me someone to help today, just any way I can, that's what I pray for every morning. Yeah. Yeah, and to help anybody.
That's the goal. Yeah. Right? Is because we can't be selfish.
No.
And be like, oh, this is all for me. I'm going to go just live my life.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a selfish state of mind.
Oh, yes.
And people do say that the program is a selfish program, and it is because you need to take care of yourself.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But you also got to help people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You have to find the balance. And I could only imagine how it feels for you and how that day felt for you sitting at that table and being surrounded by your family.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
And just knowing, like, dude, look at where we are.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be there. Never thought I'd be with all my kids at one time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy, yeah. You're going to make me cry right now, yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, like...
No, it's a heck of a feeling, dude.
Yes. Just to be sitting here doing the podcast, I never thought I'd be right here. Like, it never crossed my mind. Like, you know, when you're in your addiction and you're like, no, I mean, you just don't think highly of yourself at all, period.
Yeah, if you would have asked me 25 years ago,
right,
where would I see myself in 25 years?
Right.
It wouldn't be in a room doing a podcast.
Right, exactly, me neither.
Or like any type of interviewing because at that time we didn't have podcasts. Right. We had radio shows.
Radio shows, yeah.
But, you know, I would have never thought that I'd be able to be in a platform and be able to talk to people and interview people and hear people's stories.
Right.
And even coming up on 18 years on my own, having that, I'm still humbled by people when they come and talk to me about their story because it's like, dang. And a lot of times I'm like, oh, I went through that.
Yeah.
Which is why like we do it and why we're so consistent because we want to show people like it's possible.
It is, yes.
It's totally obtainable.
Yes.
It's going to take work.
Look how long it took me. Look how long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people got sober on their first try, there'd be no need for using my story in treatment centers.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like people think that okay, they're too far in their addiction. I mean, I thought the same thing. I really did, and I just thought, you know, my life is what it is, and that's how I'm. You know, I never gave it a second thought. Yeah. But look at now, like this is all like a dream. You know, I mean, it's not a dream. It just feels like it. You know,
there's
like
times,
a dream. Yeah.
There's times I sit back, Marni, and I'll be in my living room.
Yes.
And I'll be like, dang, I'm living in a house.
Right. Right.
And this is my house.
Right.
And this is where my kids are.
Right.
And I see my wife and I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
I go to my car, start my own car.
Right.
I'm using a key, not a screwdriver. Right. Or like a shaved key. I'm not doing none of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not looking over my shoulder.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not chasing a dope bag. I'm chasing the money bag. Right.
Yes.
And it's like the whole shift in the life with the choice.
Yeah.
And but just like that, one wrong choice could take us right back.
Oh yes.
To where we were.
Oh yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
So what do you do to keep yourself from making that choice?
First of all, I praise God, of course. Yeah. I couldn't do this without God. I surround myself with the right people. And you know what was scary about that? Because I really, in the beginning, I was like, who am I going to hang around with?
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about? what are we gonna? I mean, how am I gonna have fun? You know, I really like. It was scary in the beginning, right? So I was like, so what I had to do was surround myself with a whole different people. Well, actually, I surrounded myself with nobody because I wasn't strong enough to be around people, you know, because I knew where everything was and I could go, and I didn't want to tempt myself, right? So what I did was I just kept going to church. I went to family group every day of the week, so my mind could be away from those distractions, right? Because the devil was ready to get me. Believe me, he was ready. So I went to family group, stayed in church. I actually was obedient and patient. And I've never been that ever in my life, ever.
I talked about the support system.
Right.
Right, where like I have people I can call for anything.
Right.
I have somebody I can call for dad advice.
Right.
I have somebody I can call for my faith advice.
Right.
Money advice, marriage advice.
Right. Yes. That's
and I have people that are like pouring into me, not pulling out.
Right.
And people that aren't like just trying to take.
Right.
People are like, no, dude, like you should probably try it this way. And it's never like, this is what you need to do.
Right. Telling me what to do.
This is, hey, this is what's worked for me.
Right.
And what this may work for you. So try this. And
right.
I'm like, all right, cool.
Right.
You know, and it's like, having a solid support system, which is built over time. Let me make that clear.
Oh, yes.
It's not something that I could be like, boom, instant. I have a support system that's going to be amazing.
Right.
It's going to be hit and miss.
Right.
Right. You're going to have people that are going to try to tell you things, and you're like, nah, that's not for me.
Right.
Then you're going to have people that are going to try to tell you something like, okay, that is for me.
Right.
But having that discernment and understanding, like, okay, wait a minute. I need to have this good, strong, solid system around me.
Right.
Because if I don't and I fall, I'm gonna be by myself when I fall.
Right.
Exactly. And having people who are not gonna be judgmental around you, right? Because if I fall, right, and then I'm there by myself, who's gonna pick me up and help me get up?
Right.
Nobody.
Nobody.
I know what I need. Sometimes I need a swift kick in the butt.
Oh, right.
Sometimes I need somebody to be like, hey, man, this is what's going on.
That's something I never got.
And I have those people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mind you, like, I was raised in a 2-parent household.
Right.
I had my siblings with me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice area where we lived.
Yes.
Right. I had all that.
Right.
For some reason, only God knows.
Right.
We were given free will, and I made a choice.
Right.
And that choice took me down a path.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And so when I was able to come out of that and see what sobriety looked like and see what it was to be an actual dad.
Yeah.
And to live life to its fullest.
Right.
With joy and understanding and peace.
Right.
Most of all, my biggest thing that I've obtained in my life is peace.
Right. Oh, right.
To be able to lay my head down at night and be like, I'm going to go to bed.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to watch this movie.
Right. Yeah. Right. Me too.
You know, that's what I said the other day. I was like, you know how I know I've made it? And they started laughing. They're like, how? I said, I was watching a movie. And I woke up. I was like, oh, shit, the movie's over. It's a good movie. Let's get out of here.
Right. No, that's so true. Yeah.
But that's how much peace people can obtain.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in your home, like, there's no dysfunction.
Right.
There's no arguing.
Right.
There's no domestic violence. There's no drug use. No consumption of things. There's nothing going on in my house. It's just
wonderful.
family.
Yeah.
And we're chilling.
Yeah.
You know, we have our little spits and spats. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're able to retain skills and be able to utilize the things that people have given you.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, okay, let's talk about it.
Right.
You don't need to yell about
it. Yeah, let's not throw the chair across the room.
I don't need to break the windows out to tell you were wrong.
Right.
I don't need to call Verizon and shut your phone off so you don't follow me.
Yeah.
We don't need to go through none of that.
Right. Taking your phone away, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And it's crazy and it's humbling to know where you are in life.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so just know that you, Marni, you motivate me.
Oh, good.
And just know that I appreciate your energy.
Yes.
And it's an honor to have you in my life.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. Yes.
So right now, that was a great podcast. We got to do another one.
I know.
Part 3.
Definitely. I love it. Yes.
So what we're going to do right now
is
what we usually do at the end of our podcast is I give you an opportunity to speak from the heart.
Yes.
Motivate, give somebody faith, give somebody hope. Whatever's on your heart, just go and look into that camera.
Okay.
And let them have it, Marni. No time limit.
All right. I think I have like a little motto saying that if I could do it, you could do it. But at my age, I'm speaking to all the grandmas, all the mothers, all the women who think that you can't do something like this, that you can't be sober and live a great life, that you can't get back all those years that you have lost. You can get them back. And there's hope, and there's just happiness out there, peace waiting for you to be the person you were meant to be. And that, if I could do it, you could do it. Yes, and I'm proof. I'm proof of that. And I want to help every woman, maybe a man too, but women, mothers, grandmothers. It's never too late. Never too late to live the great life that you were meant to live. Thank you. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about, Marni.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yes.
So you heard it from Marni. It's never too late. And like I always like to say, you're not alone. So if you need help, reach out. In our bio is all the links that you may need. You're not alone. Hit us in the DMs. We have a whole team committed to answering. So once again, my name is Samuel for using my story, and we'll see you guys next week.